In this video, we're going to talk about graphing absolute value functions. All right, so we've previously seen a bunch of different ways to graph functions. All right, and so we've seen quadratics, we've seen square roots, we've seen exponentials, logarithms, sine, and all of them we can kind of do these two similar things. Well, sorry, similar things. We can add or subtract close to the x, kind of inside the parentheses, really close to the x. That's going to move my graph left and right. I can kind of add at the very end after everything else happens. That moves my graph up and down. And then I can put a negative sign in the front, and that flips my graph upside down vertically. So those are kind of the three main ways we can move graphs around. There's a couple more. We haven't learned them. But these are the three main ways you can kind of move your graphs around. All right, so in order to graph with these transformations, you need to know what the original function looks like and then move it around based on the transformations. All right, so what does the absolute value graph look like? If you're ever graphing a function for the first time, or you forget what a function looks like, or you just want to graph it from scratch doing this, you can always make a chart of x and y values. So I can plug in a bunch of x values and see what y value my function forces me to get out. So if I put in -2, I get out +2. That gives me this point on my graph. If I put in -1, that's going to give me +1. Put in 0, I get 0. Put in 1, I get 1. Put in 2, I get 2. I just did that really quickly because it's not super hard calculations. So when I put in -1, I get out +1. I put in 0, I get 0. Put in 1, I get 1. 2, I get 2. If I put in 5, I would get 5. -4, I'd get +4. And you kind of see the shape that's happening. You just get this V is your absolute value graph. Right? Everything that's positive gives me a positive. Everything that's negative also gives me a positive. All right, so this is my basic shape of an absolute value graph I have to remember. It's just this V. All right, so what's going to happen if I just add or subtract around? All right, so I kind of have my V. Let's just kind of make a mini one. All right, so I have my mini V. This V is going to shift. This -2, because it's close to the x, moves left and right. The minus sign moves me right. So this is going to go right 2. And this 3 afterwards goes up and down. So that's going to be up 3. And now my V, instead of being here, my final answer is going to look like this. Right. Now my V just slid right and slid up, and that's the final answer. So the blue graph is the final answer. But if you know the basic shape is a V, and you know your transformations, you can graph this function. All right, about negative absolute value of x plus 3 plus 1. So again, if we think about our original graph, this is V. Again, it goes on forever, but I'm just writing it small so it's not in the way. This plus 3, it's near the x. That moves you left and right. So that's going to move me left 3. This plus 1 moves me up and down. That's going to move me up 1. All right, so that's kind of my starting point now. But remember, this negative sign flips you upside down. So instead of it being a V, it's going to be upside down, and my final answer is going to look like this. Same starting point, but now going in the opposite direction, like that. All right, so that's my final graph for this absolute value function. All right, start with the V, slide it left, slide it up, flip it. All right, next one. Again, I'm not even going to kind of go through the steps. What's going to happen? I have my V. It's going to go left 1, down 4. Left 1, down 4. So now my V is going to originate. Oops, that's not a straight line. It's going to originate from there, but then it's just the V after that. All right, so that's my final graph. Had a V here, left 1, down 4. And here's one for you to try on your own. Go ahead and graph this one. I'll show you the answer in 3, 2, 1. It's going to be right 3, down 1, and then an upside down V. Like that. Now this left-hand side's not very good. Let's clean that up. There you go. This should be going straight through the boxes like that. All right, so that's my graph. It's upside down because of the negative. It went right 3, down 1 because of those numbers. All right, so when you're graphing a absolute value graph, just remember transformations apply to many different types of functions. If you know your basic function shape, the V for absolute value, you're just moving it left and right, up and down, and maybe you have to flip it to the upside down